Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is a Call of Duty game that launched with the most on-disc zombies content out of the entire series. First, there was Blood of the Dead, a polarizing reimagining of one of the most beloved zombies maps ever created, Mob of the Dead. Then, there was Voyage of Despair, a generally unliked map and a very poorly received start to the Chaos story. It's very generally disliked because of its claustrophobic map design and very unlikable cast of characters. And lastly, there was 9, a map that pretty much everyone likes, and a lot of its influence can still be seen in zombies to this day. What I failed to mention is that each of these maps are at least medium-sized, with Blood of the Dead and Voyage of Despair in particular being some of the biggest zombies maps we've ever seen. It can sometimes be daunting to play a game on these maps because the time investment you're going to have to put down to even getting the map set up is great on some of these maps. And sometimes you don't want to deal with all that, you just want to actually just get in and play the game. That's where Black Ops 4's fourth and final launch map, Classified, comes in. A reimagining of one of Black Ops 1's most divisive maps, FIVE. Classified sets out to be Black Ops 4's casual map, a map that you can just jump right into and get going. Let's see if it's worth revisiting and replaying, or if it's just a fun novelty that should be left in 2018. If you'd like to hear my thoughts on the original FIVE, you can always go watch my video that I made on that a couple months ago. It's one of my older videos, so it might not hold up quite to my current standard of quality, but my thoughts on FIVE remain the same now as they were back then. So in that way, I think the video holds up super well. The video will be up in the corner and down in the description, so if you want to go watch it, you can find it there, or if you've already seen it or just want to watch this one, then just keep on keeping on. Without any further ado, I welcome you to the Classified Retrospective. Classified stars Ultimus, the original group of main characters of Call of Duty Zombies, as its playable cast. This is actually the first new map Ultimus starred in since Black Ops 1's finale map Moon, of course not counting the remakes of the World at War and Black Ops 1 maps that are featured in Black Ops 3's Zombie Chronicles DLC. Far less serious than their Primus counterparts, who were the main characters of most of Black Ops 3 Zombies, Ultimus allows Classified to have a very fun and light tone to it.
Are we here on purpose, or was accident? Why hell pig still chasing us and... Hey, where's my vodka?
Black Ops 3 Zombies had a lot of reflective and somber moments throughout its lifespan, and it was overall very emotionally charged and existential story for the Primus crew. That same somber tone just oozes out of Classified's sister map, Blood of the Dead, and this allows for a really nice contrast, because whereas Blood of the Dead is arguably the most tragic and emotionally charged zombies map ever released, Classified is just a really fun, goofy, and light time overall. And before we talk about the actual gameplay of Classified, I'd like to talk about the style of the map first, because I feel like that's an area that the map just absolutely excels in. Undeniably, the most iconic example of Classified's sense of style is its intro cutscene, which is animated in a cartoon style with bright backgrounds and silhouette characters. You pair that with its catchy jazz theme, and it's very easy to see why this intro has become so beloved in the years since Black Ops 4's release. It just has a style that's all its own. There's nothing else in zombies like this. The soundtrack of the map in general is very jazz heavy, which helps to keep the mood very light. Soundtracks in zombies are critical in setting the tone of any given map, and the best way of kind of conveying this is how every zombies map before Mob of the Dead had no dedicated soundtrack or score. And this made a lot of these maps feel very eerily quiet, which worked in most cases because early Zombies was usually going for horror as one of its big tones. But other maps just wouldn't hit the same without their unique soundtracks. Zombies maps tend to use instrumentation that fits the setting of the map, and since Classified is set in the early 1960s, 1963 if you want to be exact, this jazz helps to cement that setting. Even comparing the soundtrack to Shadows of Evil's soundtrack, the other Zombies map that is well renowned for its jazz score, there the sound was much more of a kind of 1930s noir jazz, which fit the dark and mysterious vibe that map had going on. Again, I'll compare it to Blood of the Dead because, in my mind, Classified serves directly as a companion piece to that map, so it only makes sense for me to contrast them. Blood of the Dead soundtrack is sad, quiet, and reflective. It gets you thinking about the journey thus far, and it shares many musical leitmotifs with its older brother map, Mob of the Dead, which helps to kind of play on many fond memories and the monolithic reputation that Mob of the Dead has in the zombies community. Classified soundtrack, on the other hand, keeps you pumped up. It's very up-tempo and light, and it's very frantic and fun, just like the map it's associated with. Another stylistic difference from the original FIVE is just the state that the map itself is in, because Classified's Pentagon is a mess. There's blood and bullet holes everywhere, windows are broken, there's papers and stuff all over the floor, it's just generally in such a state of disarray. The original Five's Pentagon, at least aside from the labs, was really well kept together and clean for the most part. Especially the offices at the top of the map, and it had almost kind of a clinical horror to it, like an empty hospital. The original Five's horror, I feel, didn't come from the fact that there's anything explicitly scary about the map for the most part, but it was the lack of anything explicitly scary, because it's just a very normal looking place, and the fact that it's just empty makes you feel, you know, like something horrible went on. I think that the two maps, Five and Classified, contrast really well from each other because, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, Classified, it's not scary in the slightest. Like, how could it be? It's just way too cartoonishly over the top for that. But I think in that regard, it passes with flying colors because that's clearly the vibe it was going for. As for the tone and style of the map, I think it's great. But a map can't survive on just style alone, so I think it's time we dive in and see how the actual gameplay holds up. The design philosophy of Classified is much like all the other Black Ops 4 reimaginings of older Zombies maps. It takes its original base map, in this case, 5, adds a couple new areas onto the map, and then some new ways of traversing the map, along with a new set of characters. We've already talked about the new characters that are on Classified, so let's talk about how it changes itself from 5 and those other areas that I outlined. The map is mostly set in the Pentagon, just like 5, and the map is again split into 3 main areas. You got the offices way up at the top, the war room in the middle of the map, and then the labs at the very bottom of the map. These different floors are connected by elevators. You've got an elevator from the offices to the war room, and then another elevator from the war room to the labs down at the bottom. And until you turn the power on, that's the only way to traverse from floor to floor. So Classified, same as 5, is a very segmented, kind of self-contained layout for each floor. Once you turn the power on, teleporters around the map become active, and there's at least 2 per floor, and they let you travel between the floors much more quickly than just waiting on and taking the elevators. And this speeds up the flow of the map a ton. As with the original 5, you have to traverse all the way down through the elevators, starting at the office, down to the war room, and then again down to the labs, meaning you have to descend from top to bottom all the way. Before you turn power on, the teleporters go on, and movement becomes much more free. Classified has had 2 new areas added to it in the offices area. You've got this one little center archival area called Center Filing, and then right next to it you've got Main Offices, which is a big office room filled with desks and whatnot. We're actually on the original 5 just as out-of-bounds parts of the map that the zombies would spawn from. People would even do glitches to get back there. But Classified simply takes them and integrates them into the actual map that's accessible, lets you go back there whenever you want. The war room has a new room as well, but this time it's the server room. And on the original 5, the wall where the door into the server room was just a solid wall, so this is a completely new area that they made just for Classified. And the labs are exactly the same as they were on 5, with no new added areas down there. As Classified as a Black Ops 4 map, it uses the Black Ops 4 perk system, and I'm not going to dwell on it too much because if you're watching this video right now, you probably know what the Black Ops 4 perk system is, so I don't want to have to over-explain it and waste time. Point is, as a result of that, there are only 4 perk machines on the map. The brew machine is located in the new main offices room up on the office floor. The cola machine is located in the same spot where Juggernog was on the original 5, right outside of the panic room and the war room level of the map. The soda machine is located in the labs, right outside of the power room, and then also in the labs is the tonic machine, located in the room with the pig in it. On the original 5, Pack-a-Punch was located inside of the panic room and the war room, and you would access it by flipping the 4 DEFCON switches in the war room, 2 of them on the upper catwalk that goes around the room, and then 2 of them on the ground floor of the war room. Once you flip all the switches, the lockdown at the Pentagon will be lifted, and all the teleporters around the map will reroute to the panic room temporarily. And once you teleport in, you'll have about a minute or so of peace and quiet to pack a bunch of guns and just generally take a breather. After the minute is up, the doors will swing open to the panic room and all the zombies will swarm in to try and get you. The process of unlocking Pack-a-Punch is completely different in Classified because the machine isn't even at the Pentagon anymore. So to get the Pack-a-Punch, you need to build a teleporter modification. The modifier needs 3 pieces, and the first piece can be found in the main offices room up in the offices. The second piece is found in the morgue down in the labs, and then the third piece is located in the panic room in the same place where Pack-a-Punch was on the original 5. Actually reaching the panic room is pretty much identical as how it was on the original 5 because you have to flip the 4 DEFCON switches to lift the lockdown. 2 are again in the same places on the upper catwalk. 1 is in the same place on the ground level, and then 1 was moved into the server room in the war room. Once you get the 3 pieces, then you actually have to build the new teleporter modification. And there are 2 build tables at which you can build it. One is up in the central filing room, up in the offices, and the second is in the weapons testing room down the lab. Most people just build it up in the central filing room, that's what I do as well, but it is up to you. But once you finish building the modification, you pick it up and you take it down to the main teleporter in the war room next to the kind of map screen on the ground. Put the modifier down and it turns the actual map screen itself into the teleporter now. Now when you flip all the DEFCON switches, all the other teleporters will still send you right back into the panic room, but this central teleporter will take you to Pack-a-Punch, which is located halfway across the country at Groom Lake, aka Area 51. Groom Lake was previously seen in Zombies on the Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3 Zombies map Moon as the starting area and Pack-a-Punch area there, although there it was kind of better known as No Man's Land. So this is where Pack-a-Punch is on Classified, and then the teleporter, which sent you up to the moon on Moon, just sends you back to the Pentagon here on Classified. And that's the actual map part of Classified, and personally I think it does what a good reimagining should do. It takes the base provided by FIVE and sticks to it, while also adding a couple meaningful new areas that make it a different and worthwhile enough experience to be worth checking out, at least in the map design aspect. But there's still more to talk about. I already mentioned the teleporter part that you need to build to reach Groom Lake, but there's 3 more buildables on the map, 2 electric traps, and then 1 riot shield. The 2 traps are actually pretty much identical to how they were on 5, because the 2 metal detectors in the hallways on either side of the spawn room you can turn into electric traps if you find a part for them. Which, fun fact, these were actually the 2 first buildables in Zombies period, so it's cool to see them back. The parts you need for the metal detectors are the red electrical switches that you use to actually activate the trap once it's built, and 2 of them spawn on the map every game, and they can be used interchangeably on either metal detector. One of the switches can be found in the server room on the war room level of the map, and then the other one can be found down in the pig room in the labs part of the map. The other buildable is the riot shield, and as most buildables do in Zombies, this one requires 3 parts to build. The handle for the shield can be found in the central filing room, the main body of the shield can be found in the lower level of the war room, and then the window of the shield can be found in or around the power room down the labs. Just like the teleporter piece, the shield can be built either in central filing or in weapons testing, although the shield is usually built in weapons testing for convenience sake and also for certain strategies. And speaking of convenience, one of the biggest changes between 5 and Classified is how the teleporters have been reworked to be much more convenient and less time wasting. The obvious change is that now you can actually see where your destination will be when you go into the teleporter. On the original 5, you had no way of knowing where you'd end up when you went into a teleporter, and since there's only 1 teleporter in the offices, and only 1 teleporter in the war room, because I'm not counting the actual panic room teleporter right now because 95% of the time it's not active because the lockdown is engaged, but all the others are in the labs, so more often than not you're going to end up in the labs no matter where you want to end up. This is made even worse by the fact that you can get teleported to the floor that you're already on, which means that you can get stuck in a loop of a teleporter in the lab sending you to another teleporter in the lab, which just isn't fun. Classified rectifies this by having the teleporters show you a picture that represents where the destination of that teleporter will be, and they rotate normally between 3 images: a chair, an old computer terminal, and then an Erlenmeyer flask, which represent that the destination of the teleporter will either be the offices, the war room, or the labs, respectively. If the DEFCON is set to DEFCON 5 and the lockdown is lifted, you'll see 2 other images instead. You'll see a bust of George Washington if the actual teleporter is going to send you to the panic room, and then at the central map teleporter, it'll show you a pack-a-lunch machine saying that, hey, you're going to go to Groom Lake. Another change that's a bit more subtle but also great is just the fact that now the offices and the war room both have 2 teleporters in them that are active at all times. This fixes another problem that 5 had that's basically the inverse of the labs problem, is that the fact that the offices have only 1 teleporter, and there's a cooldown about 10 or so seconds before you can use the teleporter again, so if you get teleported up to the offices, you're just stranded up there if the elevator's not up there. And it's a very tight area, especially on high rounds, and it can completely just kill your game. Because, let's just say, for example, you're in the labs, you hop in a teleporter, you want to get to the war room because it's the open training spot, and oops, you're in the office, and now you gotta wait. Thanks to there being at least 2 teleporters per floor now, even if you end up on the wrong floor, you're only a short run away from the teleporter that'll take you to where you actually want to go. The new teleporter on the offices floor is in the main offices room, and then the new teleporter in the war room is in the server room. These changes make traversal feel way more convenient and less luck dependent, and are also great because it helps Classified as a map stay in the same spirit as 5 while also fixing some of that map's biggest flaws. But not all of Classified's changes are for the better, in my opinion, and I think the worst change that they made is the removal of 5's iconic boss zombie, the Pentagon Thief. Yes, I understand that it'd probably mess with the timeline to have him here during Classified and 5, and I know they explained his absence away in the intro cutscene, but they just kind of replaced him with Hellhounds. As with every other Hellhound type round in Zombies, you will get a max ammo after you kill the final Hellhound of the round, and they'll also spawn on every single time you grab a teleporter piece for getting the Pack-a-Punch, and they spawn on alongside zombies at Groom Lake. So they're more of an omnipresent feature on this map than just having their round, but they still don't compare to the Pentagon Thief in my opinion. And while I'm on the topic of special zombies, Classified also features Nova Crawlers when you're down in the labs, and also at Groom Lake they'll spawn in. And they're not as bad as they are in most other zombies maps because there's one change, and that's that their explosions don't deal any damage to you here. Their main thing just being the gas that kind of blurs your vision a bit makes them a lot less annoying than having a damaging explosion that could down you if you're not careful. So while I generally am not a very big fan of Nova Crawlers and zombies, the ones on Classified really aren't that bad, and they're definitely nowhere near as bad as some of the weird ones we get later in Black Ops 4, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then there's one last main core aspect of the gameplay to mention, the Wonder Weapon. 5 has one of the all-time worst Wonder Weapons in all of Zombies, the Winter's Howl, or the Winter's Fury once it's been upgraded. And it's a pistol-sized freeze gun that doesn't have very much ammo, and it's got super low damage, so it craps out pretty early in the game. Like, super early in the game is pretty good, and even up to like the early 30s it can be pretty good, but soon after that, that's when it kind of starts to crap out on you, and it's just not worth using. A normal ray gun is way better. Thankfully, on Black Ops 4, the Winter's Howl is much better. Functionally, it's the exact same gun, but its damage has been buffed quite a substantial amount. That, coupled with the fact that Black Ops 4 Zombies has a health cap, at which point the zombies will stop getting stronger, they'll just start being more of them per round, means the Winter's Howl is always an effective choice. At health cap, the Winter's Fury will take 4 shots to kill a zombie, which sounds really bad because you still don't have a whole lot of ammo with this thing even when it's Pack-a-Punched, but a single shot can hit a whole horde of zombies, so it's much stronger than it sounds on paper. And that's pretty much all the actual main gameplay parts of Classified. So now I'd like to talk about another huge aspect of this map, its Easter eggs and its secrets. Classified has 2 main Easter egg quests, sort of, and the first is called Cold War Remedy, and it rewards you with a free Winter's Howl. There's a computer on Classified that you can input a 4-digit code into, and it's located right outside the server room down in the war room. And the main goal of the Easter egg is to input 4 codes that you can find into this computer. Each of these codes correspond to a different classic Zombies map. The easiest code to get is the Doris code. Right outside the panic room, there's a key rack on the wall, and you're going to go up to it and interact with it, and you'll pick up a big golden key. It's the biggest key on the rack, so it's easy to see it disappear. That's how you know that you have it. Once you have the key, take it up to this desk in the offices, and simply open up the drawer, and inside the drawer is a picture of Doris with your code written on it. Up next is the Kino der Toten code, and you simply need to go into the panic room for this one, but you need to activate the switches in a certain order. And so the order is the upper catwalk switch that's far away from the elevator, then the switch in the server room, then the switch on the catwalk that's right next to the elevator, and then the switch on the ground floor that's not in the server room. And then simply go into the actual panic room, and then there's a TV, because there's a big wall of TVs, and a TV on the bottom rack that's normally off will be on and staticking. Just go up to this TV and hold interact on it, whatever your interact button or key is, and the TV will slide back, revealing a picture of Kino der Toten with your code written on it. The next code is Shinonuma's code, and you're going to need a Pack-a-Punch gun for this one. But once you've packed the gun, simply take it up to the hallway on the office floor that has the elevator at the end, and looking at the elevator on your right, you'll see 4 portraits. Simply shoot the nameplates of Franklin, then Hamilton, then Lincoln, and then George Washington's nameplate will slide up, revealing the picture of Shinonuma with your code written on it. Lastly is the Shangri-La code. Simply go down into the labs, and there's a window that zombies can spawn in from, and you'll notice the right window because it's got a big piece of a teleporter in there. It's right next to the weapons testing room. And simply throw a grenade or an acid bomb in there, and try and hit the ceiling with your explosion. You'll see there's a circuit box on the ceiling. You want to hit that. And I tried with Wraith Fires, and I don't think it works with Wraith Fires, so you have to go against what everyone in Black Ops 4 does, or someone in your squad does. But throw a grenade or an acid bomb in there, hit the circuit box on the ceiling, it'll short circuit the teleporter, and the picture of the Shangri-La code will be teleported onto the wall next to the window. Now return to the computer in the war room and input the codes in this order associated with whatever map they are. And it goes Shinonuma, then Doris, then Shangri-La, and then lastly Kino der Toten. You'll see pictures pop up on the screen as you input the codes, and then once all the codes are in, the screen will say, in black background, big green letters, Project Scotty Retrieve. Now go to Groom Lake and survive 3 whole rounds there, and then debris will be lifted up and there'll be a case with glowing blue accent lights and like liquid nitrogen fog coming off of it. Simply go up to the case, interact with it. Waiting inside is your free winner's howl. You will have completed the Project Scotty Easter egg, also known as Cold War Remedy. Then there's the main Easter egg, quote unquote, which it's more an Easter egg in the gaming general sense of Easter eggs, where it's just one hidden thing, and not the zombies Easter egg term, where it usually entails a whole quest of steps. And it's very simple to do, it's only 1 step long, you just have to survive to round 150. Yeah, so I'm gonna be frank, my highest round is round 38. So I'm nowhere close to getting this cutscene, and I'm really not going to put aside the 10 to 12 hours to get it. You know, I've never done the Easter egg on this map. You probably have never done the Easter egg on this map. Most people haven't done the Easter egg on this map. And that's okay, because the fact that it's that big of a time requirement to get it, it's, you know, it's just for 1 cutscene. And it's a cool cutscene because it is Primus and Ultimus all meeting face to face for the very first time. But it's like a 1.5-minute cutscene. You can just go look it up on YouTube and watch it and not have to go through all that gameplay. And for the people who do the Easter egg, there's basically one main strat with the shield down inside of the weapons testing room. That's what I mentioned earlier. There's a strategy involving that. And then there have been glitches. I remember when Black Ops 4 was out, there were a bunch of people using custom mutations glitches to get it easy. Which frankly, with a time investment ask as big as that, I think everything's fair game for the Easter egg. If you do want to do the Easter egg, Tactic Zombies of YouTube fame, will not hold it against you if you use glitches or any other exploits. That's right, you all have my blessing to cheat at this 5.5-year-old zombies game. And then there's all the smaller Easter eggs on the map that I'd like to highlight because there's an absolute ton of them on here. Firstly, we have the musical Easter eggs on the map, of which there are 2 here, and the first is Shockwave, the Kevin Sherwood song of the map, and it can be activated by interacting with 3 vodka bottles around the map. The first is in the central filing room, second is under a desk in the lower level of the war room, and then the third and final bottle is in the animal testing part of the labs. Shockwave is just a really, really good song. It's got a really cool main guitar riff. Elena Siegman's vocals are excellent, as always. You know, anything she works on is gold in my opinion. And it's definitely not as heavy of a song as especially the Black Ops 1 Easter egg songs are, but not every Easter egg song has to be a super heavy song with like screaming vocals and all that. You know, this works as a bit more of a, definitely not a low-key Easter egg song, but more accessible, I guess, because I know super heavy metal isn't for everybody. Although, I feel like most people in the zombies demographic, you know, probably would be for them, as it is for me. For what it is, I think it's an awesome song, personally. Second is an Easter egg song to play the map's intro music, This Jazz is Classified. And you activate it by hitting these 5 terminals on the war room floor in a specific order. And I'm just going to show this one on screen instead of actually telling you where they are, because there's a ton of these terminals down there, and a lot of them I think you can interact with, but it's these 5 in particular. So, got this first one, and then the second one over here, third one way back over there, fourth one is over somewhere, and then the 5th and final one. This song is a complete 180 in basically every aspect from Shockwave, with it being an instrumental jazz piece, and it's got a super, super big 60s spy movie vibe that I just love. The brass and the woodwinds are at the forefront of the track, and it's got really good percussion backing it up, and a couple tiny moments where the bass and then the guitar shine through. It's a very, very dynamic piece. It's super fun to listen to, fits the tone of the map perfectly. I think I honestly might like it more than Shockwave, personally. It's easy to see why this song has become so iconic in the Call of Duty Zombies community. Now it's time for the non-musical Easter eggs of the map, and firstly and foremost, Robert McNamara from FIVE can be found unclassified, as can be seen in the intro cutscene actually. He's behind this door and window in the main offices area, and even though he's not seen directly, he can be interacted with. If you interact with the door, you're going to knock on it, and Robert McNamara will be asked to be left alone because he's busy planning a meeting, and this meeting is actually the meeting between JFK, Nixon, Castro, and himself that the original map 5 was, that's the meeting that was occurring when that map started and took place. If you keep knocking on the door, eventually he's going to get more and more annoyed until eventually Samantha Max just yells at you, telling you to leave him alone, and then she'll spawn in about 40 or so Nova Crawlers to try and get you.
He said, leave him alone!
You said cheese! Now kindly fuck off!
If you do the this Easter egg, you can easily get enough money to open up power on round 1, and if you get lucky and get a double points drop while you're doing it, then honestly, getting the whole map open in round 1, getting Pack-a-Punch open, it's all a breeze. And I basically do this glitch every single game. Sorry, not glitch. I do this Easter egg every single game, and it's super useful. It can just get a little bit repetitive because there's quite a bit of dialogue that has to play out as you do the Easter egg. There's also a bunch of really fun little details in the dialogue from McNamara. In particular, he'll mention a broken server that we'll have to fix for another Easter egg in a minute, and then eventually he'll assume that you are Cornelius Purnell trying to bother him, which we'll get to him in a minute. But there's also just a bunch of lore Easter eggs on the map as well, and they mainly come into 4 forms: audio and film reels, red phones, and then punch cards. The audio reels can simply be interacted with by just going up and interacting with them. You don't need any other step to do to hear them, and they include messages from characters like Dr. Richtofen, George Sawyer, Dr. Schuster, and Dr. Lehman. The film reels need to be found around the map and can be played at the projector down in the morgue, and these include some messages from, again, Dr. Schuster and George Sawyer, as well as a couple of messages from Robert McNamara. There are 7 punch cards scattered around the map, but to play them you need to fix McNamara's aforementioned broken server. Just simply finding the replacement part, which is down in the weapons testing part of the labs, and plugging it into the broken server isn't enough though. You need to charge up the server. So you need to take a Pack-a-Punch weapon with the kilowatt ammo type and shoot at the part on the server, and there's like 16 lights that'll start lighting up green. Once all the lights are lit up green, the server will close up and it'll be fixed, and then you can play the punch cards on it. And all the messages from the punch cards are from Cornelius Purnell. The red phones around the map need to be shot again with a weapon with the kilowatt ammo type, at which point they'll start ringing and you can pick up and they'll play a message. And there's a message from Dr. Maxis, there's a message from Samantha Maxis, and then strangely enough there's a message from Samuel Stuhlinger. There's a lot of lore and these are very densely packed messages, but just to kind of sum it up, they basically talk about the Americans at the Pentagon and Groom Lake and how they surpassed Group 935 in their experiments with Element 115, hear about their teleporters, hear about the Nova Crawlers, hear about how the outbreak at the Pentagon even started in the first place. All of Purnell's punch cards are all about the creation of his scientific research group, Broken Arrow, and then how they intercepted the Ultimus crew after Moon and are currently holding them at Groom Lake. There's a lot in here about Samantha's inside of the minds of scientists at the Pentagon, and particularly Dr. Lehman, and also about how she's become an internationally recognized threat. Like, the US knows about her and the outbreaks that she causes. In fact, that's pretty much McNamara's whole motivation as a character, is to stop Samantha Maxis, and that's even why he's organizing the meeting from the original 5 in the first place, is he wants JFK and Castro to come to an agreement and work together to stop Samantha. She's a threat that's way bigger than any missile crisis. This goal to stop Samantha is actually what Purnell uses as leverage against McNamara in order to get his own group, the aforementioned Broken Arrow, off the ground and started. And Broken Arrow were a big focus of zombies in Black Ops 2's Victus story, and then also in the Zombies comic series starring Victus, but they didn't really come back much into the fold during Black Ops 3 or anything until Classified they get some focus, and then Alpha Omega they get a ton of focus. The messages from the red phones, on the other hand, are from all over the timeline, because you have Dr. Maxis' message is from when Classified takes place, I believe. I think it's before Moon. Samantha's message is from during Derice, I'm pretty sure. And then Stuhlinger's message is probably after Buried, so those jump all around. There's a ton to unpack here, and it's best done by others who are more qualified, or you can read up on it yourself, because there's tons of videos online that compile all the messages, or you can just read the transcriptions of them on the Zombies wiki. But especially since I didn't keep up with the zombie story during Black Ops 4, I kind of fell off during that time. All this stuff is basically new to me, so I am by no means qualified to do a full lore breakdown. As Purnell says in his final punch card though, they're keeping the Ultimates crew inside of Hangar 4 at Groom Lake, so next time you go to Groom Lake, you'll see Hangar 4 out on the right. You throw a grenade at it, or probably shoot a rocket at it, that'll probably work too. You'll hear Ultimus Dempsey inside saying some quotes, and that hangar is actually where the ending cutscene took place as well.
Get things straight.
And there's a couple extra things I want to talk about while we're still at Groom Lake, and this one is the jump scare of the map, which is very iconic, so you're probably familiar with it. But if you're not, you can take a sniper rifle, aim it at this light over this door outside of Groom Lake, and you'll get jump scared by Last Gen Richtofen from Black Ops 3 Shadows of Evil's Last Gen ending cutscene. And this is a funny reference to one of the most infamous memes the Zombies community has ever created.
No tengo tiempo para explicaciones. Tengo un universo que arreglar. Gracias. Y adiós.
The other thing I want to talk about is how Groom Lake is just, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's filled with a bunch of junk. And it makes it very dangerous to be in because even though the zombies here aren't infinite like they were on Moon, they are just as aggressive and probably even more so just because it's Black Ops 4 zombies instead of Black Ops 1 or 3. So, the only open-ish area of the map here is the actual area around the teleporter, but with Nova Crawlers and Hellhounds spawning in as well as normal zombies, it's a recipe for just disaster. But luckily for you, there's a way to clear out the debris here at Groom Lake, because every 3 full rounds that you survive there consecutively, a piece of debris will be cleared and you'll get a max ammo and a bonfire sale. And this was actually the final step of the Cold War Remedy Easter egg. You had to do this, and it kind of demonstrates that this is actually a feature in the map. You do need to return to the Pentagon after a piece of debris clears before you can do another, but you can literally just survive your 3 full rounds, see the debris clear up, and then just go back to the Pentagon, then head right back to Groom Lake, and just do that 8 times because there's 8 debris that can get cleared, and then you'll have the most open, just easy training area on the map. I think this is a super cool secret because it's a really nice risk-reward thing, because you have to put yourself out there and survive in the hardest part of the map, as the game gets more challenging as the rounds go up anyways, so it gets more difficult the longer you stay there, but eventually the scale starts to tip the other way and it becomes more manageable. Then eventually it just gets easy, which I think is a great way to reward players for doing the hardest challenge on the map pretty much. You can see a model of the Ascension rocket out of bounds in the main offices part of the map, and this is a fun little nod to 2 things. First of all, the Ascension rocket that you could find in Quito der Toten once you got teleported to the Pentagon room there, which is kind of a fun nod to that Ascension would be DLC 1. But also just more in general to the fact that 5 and Ascension take place at the same time as one another. You can see pictures of the Illuminati logo, the all-seeing eye on TVs around the map, which was actually an Easter egg in the original 5 as well. Some of the other TVs around the map will show pictures of the zombies map Moon and of Samantha Max's bedroom. And that's pretty much all I have to say about Classified, and in my opinion I think it is the quintessential zombies reimagining, because it sticks very closely to the original map 5, fixes what didn't work on that map, and adds some new ideas all its own. And Classified also excels just given the context of it being in Black Ops 4, because Black Ops 4 is a game filled to the brim with sprawling maps with long setups and huge Easter egg quests, which can be very daunting not only for new players, but also seasoned players if you're not very familiar with the maps on a map-by-map basis. Like, I still do not know how to play Dead of the Night because it's just so daunting to have to sit down and learn that map. There's a ton of part spots you have to find. Actually getting Pack-a-Punch open is like a riddle in and of itself. It's just a lot, and it's a lot for new players especially because no new Zombies player is going to pick up Dead of the Night and get Pack-a-Punch on their first, their 10th, or 20th time. They're just not going to figure it out on their own. Because Zombies maps shouldn't need a video walkthrough to be understood to how to play them. Because, you know, I think they should be doing that all through the actual map itself. Because, you know, some maps will have a map of the map with important locations laid out. Or they'll have a voice on the intercom telling you what to do. Stuff like that. That's fun, and it feels like you're actually learning and observing the map. And you feel way more rewarded doing that than you do by just watching Mr. Waffle Waffle show you how to get Pack-a-Punch open. Classified was and still is Black Ops 4's most easily accessible and beginner-friendly map. And I personally think every Zombies game should have a map like this, where new players can get a hold of whatever game it is, get a hold of the mechanics there, and returning players can just have a nice map that they can always go to, old reliable, where they can go onto it and just have a fun, chill game without having to worry about setting up or anything like that. Black Ops 2 has the survival maps, Black Ops 3 has the Giant, and Black Ops 4 has Classified. So is Classified worth revisiting? Absolutely. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more. And while I'm not entirely sure what my next video in general will be at the time of recording, my next Zombies video is going to be comparing and contrasting 2 of my favorite Zombies maps, Mob of the Dead and its younger brother map, Blood of the Dead. As always, peace out and God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay tuned, and I'll see you all next time.
Yeah, cause I got it like that. Flow so smooth like I got it on tap. Yeah, and I'ma say it be a good night while I'm on my Yingling, while I'm drinking Bud Light. Can you get it when you miss